One more thing I learned is that when you really screw something up, you can't fix it on your own.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 released about 2 months ago as of recording this video, and has become the second highest grossing video game adaptation of all time, which is really, crazy to think about. And you know what? It's not hard to see why. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise is one of the most recognizable ones out there right now, and every single film is pretty damn good. What's even crazier is that somehow we ended up from this to this. That is dedication right there. Growing up, I wasn't the craziest Sonic fan. I knew of who he was, but honestly, I was more of a Mario guy myself. But now, since I've watched all 3 of the movies, I can confidently say that I'm a Sonic fan. And the fact that Sonic 4 got confirmed before Sonic 3's theatrical release is even crazier. So today, I'm going to be ranking every single live-action Sonic movie and determining which one's my favorite. I think you already know which one it is, but you'll never guess. Oh yeah, and if you still haven't seen Sonic 3, there will be spoilers for that and the other 2. And from now on, every video talking about movies and shows will have a spoiler warning. I know I put Sonic and Shadow dapping each other up in the beginning, but it's your fault that you didn't check the community post. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But, alright, let's get into it. I think it was pretty clear from the start that this was going to be the last one on the list. Now, before you say anything, I don't think that any Sonic movie is bad. I think they have genuine fun, heart, and great emotional beats that make them stand out amongst the crowd. And I think this first movie is a really good start. Sonic as a character is really fun to watch, and with him being voiced by the main man himself, Ben Schwartz, who is everyone's favorite Blue Turtle. Seriously, that series in the movie is so good. What I find most endearing about this series is Sonic's character growth, not only physically, but as a character in his journey to become the hero that we all know him to be. Sonic 1 explores the themes of growing up alone, with Sonic all by himself on Earth living in a cave, while also spying on humans to learn what they're like and how they live life. It all begins with young Sonic and him narrating that he was born with an extraordinary power, and it must remain hidden from everyone. Although you're not doing a good job at it, broski. He makes it up to his home with his caretaker Longclaw. She's kind of the mother figure for him and has raised him almost all of his life. I wonder if Sonic 5 will find out who Sonic's real parents are. Eventually they get found out by a tribe who will come to know in Sonic 2 as the Echidna. Longclaw jumps down and quickly shuts the door, saving Sonic last minute. This then leads to her fate, with her telling Sonic to never stop running, and then a collapsed title card appears. This scene alone is such a good opening to such a simple but fun movie, and I think it perfectly sets the tone and style for what we'll see in the next 2. What I feel like this film does exceptionally well and entertaining is the human characters. Tom and Maddie are fun people to watch, and Maddie's sister Rachel is such a good comedic side character. I mean, how could you react to a 3-foot-tall blue hedgehog that runs around and talks? But by far, the best human character in the movie, let alone the franchise, is my man, Dr. Robotnik, played to absolute perfection by the legend Jim Carrey, and you can tell he's having the time of his life in the role. He and his partner Stone have some really fun moments together, and I think that they play off one another really well. And Jim Carrey's humor, I think, fits Robotnik as a character really well, although I do need this joke integrated in the next movie.
The soup is cold and the salad is hot. How is that even possible?
Honestly, one of my favorite parts about this movie, aside from Jim Carrey and a lot of other things, is the simple but yet really good emotional beats. Take for instance when Sonic is at the baseball field. He then just starts racing around, perfectly showing his feelings as he doesn't know what to do besides just run. It was the only thing that was told to him as a child, just keep running. It all leads to a global blackout by the end, but you know what, I'm sure they'll be fine. Now, as much as I love this movie, there are some things holding it back from being obviously perfect, and the reason why is at the bottom of the ranking. Mainly how the movie takes the classic trope of CGI character comes to the real world and wacky hijinks ensue, and it's mostly just a road trip movie with the usual fun locations for Sonic to explore or utilize his powers in. And while I don't think it's bad, there could have been better ways to show it, but I don't mind it personally. I mean, that whole highway fight scene was pretty cool. What's even crazier is how this film even came to be. In 2018, Sony was originally going to distribute the movie, but then eventually got handed over to Paramount in 2019. And oh boy, when that first trailer premiered, people weren't too happy when their eyes were blessed with this, thing. And Paramount, seeing the feedback, instead of ignoring the fans and releasing the movie anyway, they listened to the people. They listened to the feedback online. And eventually we got a redesign that was a vast improvement over the last one. What I love even more is the dedication of director Jeff Fowler and the rest of the crew who wanted to make Sonic right and effective to the fans. It's actually crazy that a production company like this saw the feedback and actually listened to the fans, which like never happens. So overall, this movie's good. I like it. It's nothing too serious to dive into because at the end of the day, it's a fun and funny family movie that everyone at home will enjoy. 7 out of 10. It's pretty good.
Do you know the way?
I know the way.
You have to have Ebola to know the way.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the perfect definition of the sequel is better than the original, because like what a lot of people say about this movie, it actually feels like a Sonic movie, with a lot of more famous characters introducing frickin' Knuckles and Tails, and then Robotnik getting his iconic video game look. What more could you want? What this movie does exceptionally well is the story and how it integrates the Chaos Emeralds, objects of pure power that Longclaw's species and the Echidna fought for, with the owls hiding it away. But eventually it was found and taken by a power-hungry Jim Carrey. Like I said earlier, this movie is the introduction to the famous Tails and the other famous guy, Knuckles, while also continuing Sonic's story as he matures. And it's a straight out fun time, even the wedding vacation subplot, which I found absolutely funny and hilarious. Let's talk about Tails, who is voiced by Colleen I'm sorry, I really don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. I really like Tails. He has a fun and innocent demeanor while also being a great ally to Sonic. His backstory, while vague, provides us with both who he is and how he acts. And from here on out, he travels with and remains with Sonic for the rest of the series, just like a certain red guy. Oh, speaking of, Knuckles is awesome. He's voiced by Idris Elba, and I think it's perfect casting. This version of Knuckles, while not the brightest bulb in the shed, is a really great fighter, and who is somehow still hit by a police car which sends him flying into a shed. And I like how after Robotnik betrays him, he and Sonic have a heart-to-heart on the beach, with it ending on a handshake that breaks Sonic's hand, by the way. I love the ongoing joke about however when Knuckles shakes someone's hands, his oversized boxing gloves breaks their hands like it's nothing. I mean, after all, this is what led to Knuckles and Stone's rivalry in Sonic 3. Oh, and speaking of Stone, he's great in this movie. But what's even more great is Dr. Robotnik. And I'm gonna say, he's somehow more entertaining in this movie than in the first one, and it only gets better from here. The opening scene with him stuck on the mushroom planet and then him escaping out with Knuckles is dope as hell, while also sneaking a certain joke in there. And when he gets his giant robot which is somehow 2100 feet tall, holy shit. The shot of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles standing out in the open ready to face Robotnik is top 10 screenshots of all time, let's be honest. Seeing both Sonic and Knuckles, once enemies now formed brothers, join together to fight the robot, like, that's awesome. Eventually Sonic faces the robot alone with him getting crushed by the foot of the mech, but a certain golden glove flashes the screen. Now, I'm no Sonic lore expert, but I do know who Super Sonic is, and this movie puts his badassery to good use. And when Robotnik tries to swing at him, bro literally just catches it without looking or flinching, like, that's super dope. And by the end of it, he just taps the mech with his foot gently to make it fall over, with Robotnik supposedly dead from the fall. And the human characters continue to just be fine. But the standout, honestly, is Rachel. She was already funny as hell in the first movie, but she's a full-blown crazy woman in this one. And the reason for it is valid. I mean, your husband is working for Gun, and hasn't told you so, yeah, how would you feel about that? So, overall, Sonic 2 is really good. That's pretty much it. I do have some issues, like the CGI sometimes looks a little weird, and although I do like the wedding subplot, it does go on for quite a while. But if you ignore that, you'll have a pretty good time with this movie. Trust me, it's a 7 out of 10. It's fun and enjoyable. Go watch it.
Piss on the earth. I'm gonna go higher. I'm pissing on the moon!
I swear something changed when watching Sonic to then watching Sonic 3, because this movie f***ing rules. From Shadow escaping prison to the 2 Eggman dance scene to the final battle, which is so damn epic, and I honestly just don't even know where to begin with this movie. Like I said before, Shadow escaping prison is one of the best openings to a movie ever. I know it's been done before, but Shadow just has that kind of vibe to him which makes it even cooler. The music intensifying as Shadow looks at the guards when he busts out was an awesome thing to see in my theater. Like, me and my friend were just sitting there in awe of how much aura farming Shadow was doing. And you know what? Let's talk about Hot Topic for a minute, since he's kind of the main appeal of the movie after all. Shadow, by far, is my favorite character in this movie franchise. I mean, that's until Silver appears in the next movie, which please, Paramount, if you bring Silver in the next movie, my life is yours. Shadow's story of overcoming pain and trauma of Maria's death is kinda heartbreaking. The moment where they're looking at the stars and Shadow asks Maria if he's dangerous, he only tells her this because he thinks that the scientists look at him like he's gonna do something bad or harmful to them. And after sitting and eating popcorn and watching a movie about a kaiju wreck a town, he related to himself by being the monster, the dangerous beast, and all of everything. Maria tells him that he's her friend, and the best line of the movie is,
"The light shines, even though the star is gone."
like, holy shit, man, who cooked on that line? And the moment where Shadow is looking at the abandoned laboratory and then he looks over at the glass that he was once held in, a flashback shows how Maria met him, to which we get a cute little bunny drawing on him. But what makes it worse is when it cuts back to present day. That's how you show emotion right there. But easily the best Maria involved scene, and one of my favorite scenes of this entire film, is when Shadow is inside the Eclipse cannon, and then he asks Gerald if destroying the Earth is what Maria truly would have wanted. And you know what? You'd think that Gerald would be somewhat compassionate with Shadow, but this evil bastard says the question is not what she would have wanted, but what the world deserves. He then reaches down to Shadow's level and asks him, hey, try and remember what happened that day. The day that we lost Maria. The flashback shows what happened that day as Gerald tells both Shadow and Maria that they need to leave now. And what makes it even worse and a little sad is how Shadow is holding her hand the entire time as they run away. Eventually they're cornered with one of the soldiers aiming straight at them. A young Commander Walters runs quickly to stop the soldier, telling him that there are children in the area. But an accidental shot fires into one of the containers and an explosion ignites. Shadow wakes up and looks around to see Maria on the ground, with Gerald holding her tightly. Shadow begs for her to wake up until looking up at Gerald, knowing it's too late. The music intensifies as gun soldiers surround Shadow as his eyes start to glow. Then it cuts to present day. Pissed and enraged, Shadow runs around the Eclipse cannon, powering it up, not knowing what true intentions he's really feeling up here. This scene alone is great at showing Shadow's rage and how furious and scary he can become. And also the trauma experienced here is gut-wrenching. Shadow lost his whole world right here, and after that he was forced to endure that for 50 years, reliving her death every single day.
I've spent 50 years reliving what they did to her. This is who I am inside.
Ugh, chills right there, man. So good. Keanu, you are a legend. Anyway, I want to bring up the action set pieces. Oh my god, bro. Every single fight scene is amazing. Team Sonic versus Shadow in Tokyo, and that Akira slide at the skyscraper is one of the best things that I've ever seen in a cinema. Oh, and don't even get me started on the final fight between Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Everyone compares it to a Dragon Ball Z fight, and you can honestly see why. Then it leads up to the best dap up in history of film. Like, oh my god, how could you not see this as awesome? Oh, and that right to the face after Shadow mentioned Tom to Sonic after briefly knocking him unconscious. Oh my god, I got out of my seat during that. Aside from all the cool stuff, everyone gets their fair share of screen time. Tom and Maddie aren't in this as much, but our favorite doctor is. You know him. Say his name real loud. Yeah, Ivo and Gerald are the funniest part of this movie. Their dynamic paired with Jim Carrey's excellent line delivery and comedy mashed together really well. And there's a joke in the movie which, if you don't know, I'm gonna make this real clear in the future with movies that I'll cover and shows and all that. I hate fourth wall break jokes so much. They can only work sometimes if they're done correctly and are actually funny. And there's a joke in the movie that is so funny and actually caught me off guard. And the fact that Jim Carrey is playing two characters at once to also kind of lead into that joke makes it even more hilarious. I love the running joke with Robotnik licking Sonic's quill, and the fact that Gerald does the same thing as him when they meet for the first time. That's comedy right there. Another joke that I like that I feel like no one paid attention to was this.
Yeah, terabyte me.
Or this. Okay, one more.
I don't believe this.
I know, grandson. A woman in the military.
Oh my god, dude, this is a Sonic movie. Chill out, Gerald. Anyway, funny moments aside, the laser room dance scene is the peakest of peak cinema I have ever witnessed in my life. What's even more funny is that Jim Carrey said that he would return for another Sonic movie if the script was, quote, golden. And this is the golden script that he so desired. It's unclear whether he'll return for Sonic 4 due to his supposed death after the Eclipse cannon explodes, but some concept art for Sonic 4 recently surfaced, and the man looks awesome. I'm just gonna say that. Overall, there's really nothing that I dislike in this movie. I had a lot of fun with it, and I would 100% binge this for the rest of my life. It's that good. 8 out of 10, I love it, and I think you will too. Alright, that's the Sonic ranking. I know this video is kind of short, but the Sonic movies aren't really ones that need a deep dive or deep discussion about. They're just fun films that everyone will enjoy, and I'm glad that they do so well with people. I cannot wait for Sonic 4, and I hope to see this franchise grow even larger, and hopefully we'll have a full-on SCU. Sonic Cinematic Universe, I made that up by myself, thank you very much. But overall, I highly recommend you to check these out for yourself. You'll have a blast. Trust me. Until next time, I'm Kieran. See you later.